and welcome to Inside Edition, where we discuss national, regional, and international issues in depth. Established before 116 years with the vision of Chicago attorney Paul Harris, who formed the Rotary Club of Chicago on the 23rd of February 1905, where professionals with diverse backgrounds could exchange ideas and form lifelong friendships. Rotary today is a leading global network of more than 1.2 million neighbors, friends, and leaders who use their passion, energy, and intelligence to take effective actions regarding sustainable projects and humanitarian services. The Kingdom of Bahrain has been part of this notable international network for more than 50 years, as the Rotary Club of Manama, RCM, was established in 1965 and became the oldest of this international charities branches in the kingdom. To know more about Rotary's role, achievements, and aspirations, we are pleased to welcome Rotary International President Mr. Shekhar Mehta, who is currently visiting the Kingdom of Bahrain. Welcome back. Joining me in the studio is Rotary International President Mr. Shekhar Mehta. Thank you very much for being with us today and for taking time to answer our questions. Mr. Shekhar Mehta, the remarkable history of Rotary and its important global role goes back to over 100 years, specifically around 116. Can you brief us about the Rotary's establishment, its values, its main goals internationally?
So it was formed in 1905 in Chicago by a gentleman named Paul Harris, who was a lawyer, and he thought, how about calling a few friends? So he got 3 more friends, and they had the first meeting with an intention of probably networking, meeting each other, and then they decided to meet again a week later, and then again, and then again, and they found it interesting. And they kept meeting. Slowly, they get more people joined in, and because they were moving by rotation, they called it Rotary. Okay. And the initial intention was to come together, people from different vocations. So it was not just a get-together of doctors or lawyers or accountants. A milieu of people, leaders in their profession, coming together, sharing ideas, thoughts. Over a period of time, when people came together, they wanted to do something good for the world. Yes. And they came up with the first community project in Chicago itself. Okay. Over a period of time, it became international. They went out of America, first within America, then Canada and other countries. South America, it came to Asia. It came to Asia in 1920. It moved to different parts of the world, and so much so that it started with 4 people. And today there are 1.4 million. It started in one country. There are today more than 200 countries and geographical areas where Rotary is present. Yes. Over the period, the process from networking started moving towards helping others, helping communities, helping the world. And the motto became service above self. Yes. And it has become a humanitarian organization comprising of members from around the world, all wanting to do good in this world. Yes. Specifically, to bring it closer, were the members in the beginning, as you mentioned, they were from different vocations, and they were successful people within their own fields, and that's how they used this knowledge and these capabilities. It wasn't just the intelligence, it was the education, it was the experience, the finances, everything came into it. How did they merge together? How was this hybrid actually done? So, you know, it's interesting. People from different vocations, when they come together, it's an interesting thing. I would like to know a little more about the doctors. Okay. The doctors want to know a little about lawyers. Yeah. Lawyers want to know a little about maybe accountants. Right. And this went on, and there was something called a classification. Okay. So my vocation was my classification. Okay. So initially, for many years, you could only have 1 doctor in a club, only 1 lawyer in a club. The idea was, yes, limited, have diversity, have a limited number of people from a particular vocation, so that the discussion was varied. It wasn't only about medical issues or legal issues or one particular branch of issues. It was different things coming together. Yeah. Over a period of time, this was diluted because we wanted more and more members. Diluted in the sense that it was decided that you could take maybe up to 5 accountants. Over a period of time that further got diluted.
Diversify that experience.
Also, the classifications have become numerous. Numerous, absolutely.
And new ones with the progression of the
world. Absolutely. There wasn't anything like technology at that time, but today there are 100 divisions within technology itself. So many branches for doctors itself, lawyers itself. So it has got diversified, and diversity has been one of the mainstays. It's one of the core values of Rotary.
That's amazing.
So people from different parts of the world, they come together, they understand each other, they understand the values of each other, the cultural background that they come from. Paul Harris, the founder, had said tolerance is the cornerstone of Rotary, and so it is. I mean, an Indian is so different from a South American, a South American so different from a Japanese.
Absolutely.
And yet all of us are united towards one goal of trying to do good in this world.
Right, absolutely. That diversity and the ability to be diversified talks a lot about the Rotary Club itself, in the sense of its capabilities, as you said, of tolerance, of accepting other cultures, and even thinking out of the box from other people's viewpoints. Well, in performing its duties, the Rotary deals with and cooperates with various institutions as well, not just people. What can you tell us about the importance of these kinds of collaborations?
So Rotary over a period of time understood that great things will be achieved only when we partner with others. Individually we have great ability, great networking, but it's always great to have experts coming in. We may not be experts for everything, so why not join hands with experts? So an example would be our biggest corporate program, that's polio eradication. There we have partnered with Bill and Melinda Gates, with WHO, with UNICEF, CDC, Gavi very recently. And these partnerships have brought tremendous results, absolutely. And so this is maybe at the Rotary International level, but even at local level, the clubs are encouraged to go ahead, find out experts in certain areas and forge partnerships with them and work along with them.
Yeah, and even with institutions, because whatever you attempt to help in or fix, there are certain standards that have to be met, and these huge bodies, they're the ones that put these standards. How do those collaboration help in even spreading awareness about the Rotary Club's endeavors?
Absolutely. So again, taking the example of polio itself, the surveillance part, that's being taken care of by WHO, for example. They are the experts. The Rotarians are not necessarily the experts in surveillance, but WHO looks after the surveillance part. So if there is a polio case, they immediately get to the bottom of it. What's the issue? How it needs to be tackled, etc. All of these issues. So these partnerships help tremendously in taking our object forward.
Yes, especially in giving also that fixed, when you have an institution such as the UN or the WHO, there's a lot of trust that goes behind that as well.
So Rotary has worked very closely with the UN bodies. In fact, the formation of UN, Rotary had a major role to play in that also. Very recently also at the COP26, Rotary was a participant. I in fact represented Rotary there, discussing on environmental issues. And there also we want to partner with other different organizations to come forward and work for environmental issues on climate change, etc.
Especially with Bahrain setting the bar very high when it comes to the next years and how we're going to meet our part in the climate issues. Well, as you mentioned, or as we've talked about, the Rotary Club is a club that dates back to 116, even more years ago. The Rotary Club of Manama was established itself in 1965 and became one of the oldest of this international charities branches in the kingdom and in the region probably. How do you value Bahrain's great official and civil support that is provided to Rotary?
Let me tell it, it's not just how I value it or we value it. I'm so happy how the kingdom itself values it. You'll be happy to know that one of the charter persons, the charter president of this organization of Rotary here was His Highness the Deputy Prime Minister of the country today.
Yes.
He started that Rotary Club here, and I even had a meeting with him, and he is so supportive.
Yes.
And I tell you, there is nothing greater to me for the development in this world than the government and civil society coming together.
Absolutely.
And when the governments throw open arms and welcome civil society is here just to trying to do good in this world. They don't have an agenda. They're trying to do something good for the people. And when government encourages that, that helps the civil society to blossom and do more. And that's what has happened with Rotary Club in Bahrain.
Yes, yes.
I must compliment His Majesty and down below everyone, His Excellencies and others who have been encouraging. Even when I met him, he had only words of encouragement and thankfulness for the wonderful work that Rotary is doing, which is so very encouraging.
Right.
In turn, Rotary is ready to provide the support of as the civil society, as a solid pillar of civil society. If there is anything that needs to be done, whether it's fighting COVID, whether it's spreading issues about health, environment, etc., Rotary is ready to stand by. So this combination of government and civil society is amazing, and let me tell you, Bahrain is an excellent example of
Thank you very much. Talking about that specific point, Rotary International is an institution that basically, Rotary itself is an institution where there's an exchange of information, exchange of experiences, talking about certain problems that need attention at this point, and having the experiences from different Rotary clubs around the globe, such as the Rotary Club of Manama, is a contributor to the whole picture, so to say. What can you tell us about your current visit to the kingdom, as well as the importance of conducting visits such as this? Do they come in line with the Rotary's goals?
Absolutely. We have to expand our reach, and the idea was to go to these countries, meet the Rotarians, inspire them, motivate them. We've set certain goals for the year, some internal goals, some external goals. So one of the internal goals is growing the organization itself.
Okay.
So one of the slogans I have for the year is each one bring one.
Okay.
So I'm encouraging Rotarians, when I go speak to them one to one, it makes a lot of difference. I'm seeing very positive response to it. Because we know that when we grow more, we do more.
Absolutely.
So we will be able to grow more. There is a theme that I have set for the year, and that is serve to change lives. Every president of Rotary gives a theme. The theme that I've given is serve to change lives. So when I go speak to them, I learn from them what they have been doing when they serve to change lives. And they're telling me great stories of amazing work around the world that's happening. One of the focus areas for this year's emphasis areas is empowering girls.
Yes.
And it has resonated so very well. So when I go to any of these countries, I like to go and see the projects that are happening.
Absolutely.
What are they doing? And they have some outstanding work that's happening, and they showcase that.
Yeah.
So that becomes one of the primary reasons why I am there, and that is the reason that brings me to Bahrain. Two things: one, I want more and more clubs to come up here in Bahrain. It has great potential. The Rotarians here, let me tell you, are outstanding.
Yes.
The senior leaders I've met, there are 4 past governors from here, each of them outstanding leaders. And I've met them, and I met many other Rotarians, and I'm going to meet more Rotarians, asking them to grow, also get the youth involved in it. There is something called Rotaract. We have younger generation people coming in. Even before them, we have the Interact, which is school-based for teenagers.
Right.
There is an Interact club here now in Manama, and there is a Rotaract club. But I would want these numbers to grow, and I'm sure the Rotarians here also are wanting these numbers to grow.
I'm sure.
Also, encourage them to do more. Try to help out. At times discuss with them what are the needs here, what can be done.
Yeah.
Even in a country like yours, which is such a wonderful state where everything is being taken care of by the government, there are certain needs that can be taken up by the civil society. And that's what we discussed even with the Prime Minister when I met. For example, as I mentioned, when I was at COP26, the major focus of Rotary there was on mangroves plantation.
Okay.
And mangroves plantation, I had earlier thought it would be only for coastlines, but here also
we have
Bahrain, you have
yes,
you have a lot of need for more mangroves to be planted.
Yeah.
And when I met the Deputy Prime Minister, His Highness, I did mention to him, and he has absolutely welcomed the idea that Rotarians here, and so the Rotarians here now will put together a program where they'll plant thousands and thousands of mangrove plantations. So that was one such example.
Yes.
So my visit, I think, if it results into those thousands and thousands of mangroves, it would be a worthwhile visit.
Definitely, that's beautiful. We do have beautiful mangroves, but seeing more surface area for them is definitely a plus. Before we go on to our next question, just to bring the idea of the Rotary Club of Manama closer to the viewer's idea and how it contributes to Rotary Club International is specifically this last period with COVID-19, with this huge change in technologies and spaces, or let's say areas have become smaller, people are closer together, some are further apart. Has the objectives of the Rotary Clubs changed with this last period when it came with the pandemic? The focuses? So
the objective and the core values still remain the same.
Yes.
They haven't changed and they will not change. They are timeless, absolutely. Yes. But our way of tackling things definitely has changed because we are ready to adapt.
Right.
Our ability to adapt was challenged, and we've come out very resilient to it, let me tell you. I'll give you an example. Whoever had thought that connectivity would increase by sitting at home? Yeah. But we've all realized our connectivity has become so much more, because in one day, I remember in one day I was with thousands and thousands of Rotarians across 5 different continents. Yeah. So in the morning you start with maybe a meeting with Japan, and then you go to Africa, and then you are in South America and then North America.
Pass by Manama.
Pass by Manama. Oh yes. Yes. Have meetings in Middle East. Yes. All of this has just been possible and really wonderful. So to me, every disaster gives us an opportunity to have a leap forward. Right. And our leap forward here is going to be connectivity. Beautiful. To me, the COVID, Zoom, etc. was a matter of survival. Yes, it was. But meeting people is life. Yes. But we have a lesson to learn from that survival. We are going to use those lessons. That will become the new normal. Yeah. Connectivity, morning, evening, afternoon. If I want to talk to somebody nowadays, I don't just pick up the phone, I quickly get onto a Zoom. It is far better. Understanding between people is much better. Yeah. Connectivity becomes so very well. So that's an advantage we will take forward, and it's going to be a big advantage. Definitely. Probably after email, Zoom is another one milestone in mankind's communication abilities. And it also saves the environment from its own point of view. Absolutely. Yeah, it does. Exactly. It does. I mean, you save so many miles that people travel. Jet fuel, everything. So many things are saved. Absolutely. Well, what can you tell us about the main initiatives launched by Rotary to help people during the pandemic, the initiatives for the pandemic specifically? So, I would say Rotarians rose to the occasion amazingly, absolutely. Around the world, I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds of stories of how Rotarians have really helped out, gone to the grassroots level, provided resources, finances, etc., right from Rotary International down to the club level. Yeah. So the Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation itself have nearly supported $50 million worth of grants to different Rotary clubs around the world whenever they wanted to do something. Yeah. In turn, millions and millions of dollars have been spent by Rotarians, and millions of hours were given in, which is so precious when they come down. So the first phase of COVID, they provided masks. Today masks look so very common, but that time there were no masks. Right. Rotarians provided millions of them. Right. Sanitizers today is every corner, but there were no sanitizers initially. Right. So tons and tons of liters of sanitizers were provided, PPE kits were provided, ventilators, oxygen concentrators. food to people who could not go out. Economic conditions were bad because people were at home. They did not have food to eat. So delivering food, etc. All of this, helping the healthcare workers, motivating them to keep doing the great work that they were doing, recognizing them, appreciating them, their work. It was such an important thing. People, they were going out in the morning. A doctor went out. The wife wasn't sure whether he'll come back with the disease or not. When he comes back with the disease, she's at risk, the child is at risk, the husband itself is at risk. It was a great thing these people have done. Amazing, absolutely. So Rotarians stood by them. They themselves were doctors, were nurses, Rotarians. They were frontline workers. They worked there also. Then came the second phase, an amazing response around the world. Wherever there was problem, people stood up, stood by the others. Thousands and thousands of oxygen concentrators were provided. Hospitals were built. I went to inaugurate one hospital back home in India, in a place, Erode, where I was amazed that in 45 days they built a hospital, ground plus 4-storied, 70,000 square feet and 400 bedded hospital only for COVID.
That's amazing.
In just 45 days. It was outstanding, absolutely. And this was just one story. There are so many other stories that have happened. So Rotarians always rise. They are people of action. If they find a need, they try to find a solution to it.
And that's definitely where the value of the vocations also comes in, because a hospital in 45 days has standards. There are specific things that have to be available, and that's where the wealth of information was. It wasn't just the finances, but as well as the information itself. Your Excellency affirmed in a recent published statement that a major brainstorming is needed to find effective solutions suited to different areas of the world, and stressed that you will encourage clubs to use action plans and reinforce the core values of Rotary. Can you tell us how would the brainstorming and using action plans contribute to achieving these goals that you have aimed for?
So, anything first starts from gaining knowledge about it. So, when we wanted to do empowering girls, it was important for me to find out what the issues around the world were. The world, around the world, empowering girls, issues with girls are not the same. I was surprised to know that even in the Western world, developed countries, there are issues as far as discrimination or disadvantage of the girl is concerned. So, it was first important to understand that, and that happened out of, let's say, a brainstorming that we had at the board level itself. When all the board members informally came together on a Zoom call, and we gave in our ideas, and we got the experts. Then we met the experts and said what exactly is needed, and then we narrowed down and we understood these are the 10 things that the Rotary clubs around the world can do. Now, a Rotary club president, he or she is a president for 1 year. They want to do something about empowering girls, but they do not necessarily are aware of what needs to be done.
In their area,
In their area. But if you give them a menu that these are some of the things that we have understood by going through a lot of brainstorming and doing a lot of research, you see if any of these. So when I went in different countries in Africa, I saw country after country, Rotary club after Rotary club was doing work on menstrual hygiene management of the girls. Thousands of girls were being trained on how to make sanitary pads.
Absolutely, I remember
this was something that was given to them in the menu, and they understood it so very well. In back home in our part of the world, we had said that self-defense techniques for girls so that they could fend themselves if people are trying to make advances or trying to come for an attempted rape or anything like that. They are being taught martial arts. So hopefully they should be able to defend themselves sometime, providing scholarships, etc. So all of this, I've just given you one example, which came out of a brainstorming amongst people and with the experts. We've done similar things, whether it was polio, even polio. Initially there have been brainstorming, understood. Time to time when there is a crisis, you need to have a brainstorming with your partners itself. What exactly needs to be done? How do we go forward? So I've always believed that collective wisdom is very important. When 10 people come together, great things happen. I always say my own ability, group dynamics comes into it, my own ability becomes 4 times more when I sit with 4 Rotarians.
Especially when you have an open mind on the other side that takes in the information from different people.
Very well said.
As a member since 1984, Your Excellency served Rotary as director, member of chair of several committees, zone coordinator, training leader, member of Rotary Foundation cadre of technical advisors, and district governor. How did such various performed roles contribute to achieving the goals of the organization?
So, when you are given a responsibility, you start thinking about it, you start working on it, you start planning, and Rotary gives this opportunity much earlier in advance. So a district governor is elected 2.5 years even ahead of the time that he or she is supposed to take over.
Yeah.
So you start planning, what is it to be done, what can I do? You discuss with the current governor and the incoming governor, you decide on a strategy that needs to be done for that organization over the next few years' time.
Right.
And so you start working towards those plans. You start formulating the plans and programs. When you work on various committees of Rotary, you have the strategic plan in mind, the action plans that we have, and you see whatever we are doing, whatever actions we are taking, are they matching? Do they get through the strategic plan? Are they meeting our core values?
Yeah.
Are they at the standards of the DEI that we would like to have? All of these considerations have to be given, and at each of these positions, it's a learning experience.
Yeah.
You learn so much if you are ready to keep your eyes open and ears open.
Yeah, definitely.
And you are ready to unlearn at times,
yeah,
and ready to relearn times.
Wonderfully said.
I've been doing that.
Yeah.
Learned so much from other people.
Yes,
Like Isaac Newton had said, I say the same thing. If I have been able to see further, it's only because I've stood on the shoulders of giants who've come before me.
Wonderfully said. I mean, having these positions is also seeing the problem from different points of view, and then fixing it depending on what you see needs to be fixed, because you're in that different position. And there's a big lesson to learn there. When you start from zero or down, and then you grow into this mission. You become part of the vision and the mission of your field or where you're working at. Your Excellency, you have been actively involved in disaster response specifically, and your pioneering program helped in performing more than 1,500 life-changing heart surgeries in South Asia. Can you tell us more about the importance and outcomes of those initiatives along with other leading ones?
So disaster management, it all started when tsunami had struck our areas. Okay. Andaman Nicobar happened to be a part of my own district. Okay. So to say, although it's about 1,500 kilometers into the sea away from my city, Calcutta, but it's part of my own district. So when tsunami struck, it's an interesting story. One night I just sent out a message saying that day after tomorrow I'm sending out equipment by flight. So if you want to send any material, please, disaster response material, please send. I was amazed. In the next 3 days' time, 50 tons of material was all over my garden. And we were about 30 to 40 people working 18 hours a day trying to unpack what came, pack, repack, etc., send it to Andaman Nicobar Islands. And that's when my first work with disaster management started. We went there, we went to Port Blair, we went to different islands, and so islands were totally barren because everybody who lived there had died, except the people who were away from the island. They were now coming back to the island. So we built 500 homes for them. Wonderful. In an island where there was no electricity, no water, and I had to take a flight from Calcutta to Port Blair, 2 hours flight, and then take a helicopter to drop us at that place and at that island, and come back in 2 hours and pick us up because
there
we could
nothing.
nothing to stay there. Yet in 3 months' time we built those 500 homes. I'm a builder by profession.
Wonderful.
But I tell you, those were the most ordinary houses I made, but the greatest satisfaction it gave.
I bet.
Thereafter, I was deeply involved with disaster management. Every time, any time disaster happened in our country, I would definitely be there. At least the first 15 disasters I remember, very major one of them. I started something called a shelter kit program, where there is a large trunk. In that there are 52 items, inspired by a program called Shelter Box, which is in UK, where later on I became a trustee of that organization on the board. But I started that shelter kit program, and any disaster, even today, if there is a big disaster, one of the first responses from Rotary in India or in South Asia is providing those shelter kits.
Yes, yes.
So that has been very, very heartwarming. You know, when disaster strikes, a man runs.
Yeah.
In one hand is the wife's hand, and the other the child's hand, and there's nothing in their hands.
Yes.
And they go back, their house is ruined, the place they cannot go back, and then you give them something, it's life-changing.
They can start again, yeah, absolutely.
Coming to the heart surgeries program, oh, that's my favorite program, absolutely. For years, I have been involved with that program now, probably 2,500 heart surgeries through children and parents that I have met personally. So these are children who are born with a hole in the heart or other congenital diseases. Their parents, and I've met nearly 2,500 parents, not one of them earns enough to get the surgery done. In fact, what they earn, if they saved every penny for 3 years only, then would they be able to get the surgery done. But you don't save every penny.
Of course not. You have to eat, you have to live, you have to have
So you would need 6 years.
Yeah.
The child won't live for 6 months. So that's when Rotary comes and we provide heart surgeries to them. And now not just for children in India, but all of South Asia. Children have come from Pakistan. We've done heart surgeries for hundreds of children from Pakistan, from Afghanistan, from Africa. In each of the countries that I went, one of the gifts to each of these countries was that you can send as many children as you would want, and we'll get the free heart surgeries done for them.
Amazing.
So it has been a very heartwarming program.
I bet. I mean, when you're talking about these two programs, actually, these are life-changing events even for yourself as a person that runs this and coordinates this. So has it changed your view on future endeavors for the Rotary?
Absolutely, you said it very well. In one of my opening speeches for this year was that when we serve to change lives, we not only change lives of those people, but we change our lives also. It does happen, so much so that service, you know, when I joined Rotary, service was not the reason I joined. I was too young, I was only 25 years old. But service grows on you. When you do good things, it inspires you to do more good things, and you do more good things. And then over a period of time, the mainstay of my life, the mantra of my life itself has become that service is the rent I pay for the space I occupy on this earth. So getting these opportunities, trying to do more such activities has become a mainstay. And having got inspired by the polio story of Rotary, which has been an amazing, amazing story. We started the program in 1988, 85 actually. And till now, we have, when we started the program, 350,000 children were getting afflicted, either getting paralyzed or some were dying. It was in 125 countries. This year, it's in 2 countries, Pakistan and Afghanistan, and only 4 cases. So we are nearly there. We have immunized billions of children. Billions of children have been given the doses, and the result is 19 million children today are alive and walking because of the efforts that we took. So I've been inspired. This organization can take such a great program where we are at the brink of eradicating only the 2nd vaccine preventable disease to ever be eradicated from the face of earth.
Right, preventative
It's a big
medicine.
deal.
It is a big deal.
Smallpox and now polio.
Yes.
And fortunately, Rotary has taken the lead as far as polio is concerned, polio eradication, worked with the governments around the world, worked with the partners that I mentioned earlier. So I feel now a time has come when Rotary needs to take up programs everywhere in every country where Rotary has a role to play in the nation building process.
Yes. Yes, I mean, speaking from your experience, you've seen that it has helped nations in growing as well. So being a part of it is an important factor for any kind of prosperity. My last question to you before we end today's show is, after a century of constant success and development, the Rotary has achieved many things. There are things that are major within this wide array of choices that we can talk about. For you, in your opinion, which were the most valid from these major accomplishments?
Polio eradication, as I just mentioned. To me, it is it even gives me goosebumps now to think that we are at the verge of eradicating a disease. It's amazing, outstanding.
It is.
Our work in peace building peace in this world is also amazing. Directly, we have worked towards peace through the Peace Centers program that we have. Each year, nearly 100 scholars come out who have been trained into conflict resolution, trained to stop wars if required, trained to bring people together to discuss peace. Also work in developmental world so as to bring positive peace. I always say, when you put those artificial limbs to a person who had lost both legs, you ask him what is peace, he'll say peace is those two artificial limbs that we have put. That's positive peace.
Absolutely.
When you give eyesight to people, that's positive peace to that person. When you give those polio drops, that person is not going to be paralyzed. That's peace for that parent, that's peace for that. So we play a major role as far as peace directly through the Peace Centers program. And of course, the 7 areas of focus that we have.
The original ones.
There we work a lot. So all of these, very frankly, you see a problem and find a solution. People of action, that's what Rotarians are. To me, that's the best thing. That's the ethos of a Rotarian, that you see a problem and you want to solve it. Because you are a leader and you have the networking ability. If you don't have the solution, you are very capable of finding a solution. If you don't have it, you partner along with others. And that's what we've been doing. That's
amazing, diversity. I'm a nurse myself, so speaking from my point of view, what you're saying, these things that are for other people small, like the polio vaccine or helping someone regain their physical abilities or their sight or learn new things, it's a big deal for that person itself. That person is not at peace because he doesn't have that. So giving that chance through a club as the Rotary Club with its distinguished and its very detailed sections and projects, it gives the hope, so to say, for anybody. Thank you so much for being with us today and for being in Manama and taking part in all of the initiatives that are being done here. And thank you for being on our show today.
Thank you. It's been wonderful being in your country. Rotary is growing here. And not just here, we would be very happy to see it grow more into the Gulf region, because that's one of the small areas around the world where it has probably to reach. And I'm sure this message through your program will reach out to other places, and we should be there also. Thank you so much for hosting this.
Thank you for being with us. And
Namaste.
See you soon. Namaste. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching us, dear viewers, and we'll see you next week in another episode of Untitled Edition.